Since 2002, Bloomberg and Klein have been in charge of New York City public schools, selling an agenda of children first and education as a civil rights issue. Sadly, their agenda has been exposed as charters first, fueled not by the protection of our children's civil rights, but rather violating them, discriminating against our neediest and most vulnerable children.
My son has a special need.
I have a son that is a special needs child.
3 children currently enrolled at PS15, 1 child with a special needs child.
Over the last year, more and more charter school co-locations have been forced upon school communities. The DOE justifies these co-locations, citing footprints and formulas that do not allocate space for students with special needs. Further, students with special needs are the first to be relocated for the benefit of charter schools. Naturally, parents and teachers have been outraged. 2 school communities emerged as the leaders in the fight to protect their special needs students, PS15 in Red Hook, Brooklyn, and PS 188 and 94 in Lower Manhattan.
Layla is thriving. With her OT, she's not falling down hurting herself. Layla gets physical therapy. She needs those services.
I have a question. Does my son not deserve a private space for speech, OT, and PT?
She needs and has a legal right to have her space protected. There are laws currently now that protect that space. And I am a parent and represent one of those many parents who will fight for that space to not go to a charter school.
Look at him. Right. Look at him. When he can improve his needs, answer me the question.
Would anybody care to tell me that that space, that 11 rooms that are in this EIS statement, that says that space is extra space in my building?
Well, even if they don't answer, I leave it up to them. Just look at him. Don't you think he deserves a good place where he can learn?
Yes.
I think it's very important that we keep sharing what we have. So please don't ever forget about P94.
That it's okay for my daughter to get her services in the back of a classroom. She doesn't need a dedicated area in the building to get speech, OT, and PT. She doesn't need to go to art class. She doesn't need to get enrichment programs. She's not entitled to that.
My name is John Engwood. I'm the president of the Citywide Council on Special Education, and it's great to be included, even when you're being displaced in a school.
When you figure out how to share the space, we're happy to share our space with you. Also, I've been doing a read aloud with the little kids in our school, and I'll be happy to do the same thing for the little kids in your school. Just let me know. Thanks for listening.
P94M, children with disabilities, children that are the most medically fragile in this city, and children that have the most difficult time making transitions, we are displacing.
Let the record show that I am opposed to this continued co-location. I do not support it, and I will continue to fight legally to her space and protect her services and also the special education children in my school.
After months of testimony and hearings, after thousands of parents, teachers, students, policymakers, and organizations spoke out against these co-locations by co-opting special needs students' space and educational needs, no one was heard, and the DOE, with the rubber stamp of the PEP, approved co-location extensions in both schools. Parents from both schools filed appeals to the State Education Commissioner. He dismissed, without merit, the cases, with the exception of finding the DOE did not provide proper assessment of the impact on the children with autism at PS 94. He ruled the DOE would have to follow the law to include these children. What happened next has set off a firestorm.
But it is time for us to hold the DOE accountable. I'm upset
about the decision, but also more so the lack of respect that's been given towards the educational needs of my son, as well as the other 40 autistic children in that building, and as well as the 188 school population.
Clearly favors a school that is hedge fund fueled.
After intense public outcry, the DOE announced the Chancellor would not use his emergency powers, at least for now, and the DOE and Girls Prep would look for an alternate location. Whether this is a tactic to ultimately stay in the building or a genuine effort to follow the law remains to be seen. Regardless, the DOE released a statement saying there is more than enough space in the 188-94 building and not a single special education child would be displaced. This leads us to believe in the dismissal of the PS-15 case shows, if not for a process flaw, Girls Prep would remain and the autistic children at PS-94 would lose utilized space, just as the special education students at PS-15 have. Why is the DOE so bent on overcrowding successful community schools with charter schools? And if not a single special education child will be impacted, why aren't they being included and counted in the EISs and space allocation formulas? Ultimately, Bloomberg and Klein's abhorrent treatment of special education students will most likely be settled in the courts. In the court of public opinion, however, it is clear they have already lost. Regardless of the precedents set by the decisions of the DOE, the blind agreement of the PEP, and the lackluster and disingenuous decision by State Education Commissioner David Steiner, the public rejects their assertions that space need not be allocated for special education students-related services, that stairwells and hallways are appropriate places for special education students to receive those services, and that the DOE can publish educational impact statements that do not fully address the impact of their proposals and policies, nor even consider the needs of our students receiving special education services. Discrimination is the basis of far-reaching education reform policy in New York City under Bloomberg and Klein.
Is it legal to take utilized space from an existing public school, from existing public school children, and give it away to another group of children? The answer is no. And finally, moral and ethical. Is it moral and ethical to tell John Mattis that his son Liam can't have a dental program? Is it moral and ethical to tell Lydia Belche that her daughter can't have speech? Is it moral and ethical to tell Wilbur his son who has Down syndrome can't have PT and OT? Is it moral and ethical to tell Cheryl that her granddaughter Jada can't have enrichment for reading and math? Is it moral and ethical to tell Naisha that her son Dante can't have space for enrichment? The answer is no. And I dare you, to each one of you, look in their eyes and tell them that their kids don't deserve these things.
Become part of the movement to stop these devastating and destructive policies.